Good to have you with us on this Thursday edition, Ed Schultz News and Commentary. If you've got somebody working in your house, how much do you have to know about that person? They're in your house. They're in your castle. You have to trust them. They might be there when you're not there. They might be working when you're not around. You're not going to see everything. The nomination for Labor Secretary, Mr. Andrew Puzder, who has a horrible record with workers' rights and is a race to the bottom kind of guy, apparently had someone who was not documented working in his house. This is kind of going around with rich Republicans. It happened with Mitt Romney, too. Anyway, the Senate's top Democrat is demanding that the president withdraw Puzder's name from the Labor Department consideration. Schumer says that he's probably the most anti-worker nominee of the Department of Labor ever. I want to get some backup on that. So we go to my good friend Larry Cohen, former president of the Communication Workers of America, now the board chair of Our Revolution. Larry, good to have you with us.
Pleasure.
Tell me what you know about Mr. Puzder.
Yeah, nothing good. This is a right-wing ideologue who's exceptionally wealthy, hundreds of millions, if not a billionaire. And everything he's done on the labor front has been at the expense of low-wage workers. And then he also sounds the cry for more automation so that, you don't have to worry about those low-wage workers. So this is, just like environmental. This is an anti-labor secretary. That's what's will be in front of the Senate at the hearing next Friday.
This is Chuck Schumer today.
The nomination of Andrew Puzder, one of the most anti-worker nominees to any cabinet position, and probably the most anti-worker nominee to the Department of Labor ever. Remember the days when Republicans would actually nominate labor leaders to be head of the Department of Labor? My fellow New Yorker, Peter Brennan, was nominated by Richard Nixon. He was head of the building trades. This is amazing. They ought to withdraw Puzder's nominee before he further embarrasses this administration and further exposes the hypocrisy of President Trump in saying one thing to the workers of America and then doing another.
So what they are doing is putting someone who's anti-labor in this position, which will only fast-track legislation against workers in this country, such as right-to-work legislation, which is going to be coming forward. And who knows, the Republicans might even put together a federal right-to-work legislation. Larry, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, even more imminent is they will pack the NLRB. There's 2 vacancies. So you'll have a National Labor Relations Board whose preamble actually says that its purpose is to promote collective bargaining rights. It doesn't say it's neutral. Its job is to promote, and they're likely to pack it with people who want to destroy collective bargaining. That's now a basis for being a Republican. It was in their platform. And so they'll start there. It'll be every other agency, not just the Department of Labor. They will load them up with people who will want to eliminate the rights of workers, want to eliminate the minimum wage, want to eliminate health and safety protections. And it goes on and on and on from there. So, that's what we should expect. Our job is to resist. I'm glad to see that the Democrats are using all 30 clock hours of the Senate on every single nominee. They didn't do that in the first week. We did organize to say to them, you need to do that. That's what the Republicans did to Obama. It's the least you can do. So seeing most of the Democratic senators fighting back is encouraging. But this is an uphill battle. They need 51 senators to confirm any nominee. Our job is to make that as hard as possible.
Larry Cohen with us here on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. How important is it that the party's choice, the Democrats, get someone who is progressive to head up the DNC? That seems like the list is getting longer of candidates. Where do you stand on this, and how important is this position going to be moving forward?
It's critical if we're going to have a populist Democratic Party versus a Democratic Party that's to too great an extent dominated by donors and institutions and top down. Keith Ellison was endorsed by Our Revolution. As you mentioned, I chair the board in November. We've worked very hard at every level, including myself as a volunteer in his campaign. He stands for rebuilding the party, as he puts it, in the 3,143 counties of America, not just the 500 that Hillary Clinton won. That we need a party that's in every county, that's in the 30,000 municipalities, that encourages young people not just to get involved, but to run for office, that organizes resources not for President of the United States. Those campaigns can do that. But for people who want to run at the city council and the state legislature, where big money in politics doesn't dominate the outcome, where everyday people can still run and win, and then we build the table up from there. I've known Keith since he got elected to Congress in 2005. He's an amazing leader. He's walked that walk for those 12 years. In fact, as I've said to him even before he was running, Keith, I'm actually a follower. My union, CWA, or groups like Our Revolution Now, for me, we want to follow in your path. And now we get to follow him, hopefully, to being elected chair of the Democratic Party.
Tell us about Our Revolution. I get emails all the time. I want to know how strong you are, what kind of reach is out there, and what kind of response is Our Revolution getting?
Well, in one word, we're overwhelmed by the response. So we asked local groups to register 2 weeks ago. Over 1,000 groups registered, meaning they have more than 10 members with their members. Many of them had hundreds. A lot of these groups are networked in states. So in Oklahoma, at the organizing committee there, meeting, instead of the 100 who RSVP'd showing up, 300 showed up. These are organizers. There's no speaker. Thurmont, Maryland, Western Maryland, a similar turnout. 120 registered and more than 250 showed up, let alone Texas, where they've had 4 meetings so far. They have 11 scheduled around the state. And Lubbock, Texas, last week, the 3rd meeting, 300 people showed up. Half of them had to meet outside because they couldn't fit in the room. So, that's the promise of Our Revolution, as well as, gigantic ability to turn out people to events or to make calls to senators. Right now we're pushing our members in key Republican states to call to push Heller and Collins, Murkowski to vote no on Price. That vote is coming up. Tom Price for HHS Secretary. We will get 20,000 people from one email to make those calls to those senators. So that's the kind of thing we're trying to do, but frankly, quite overwhelmed, small staff, deliberately so, power out in these groups. Groups don't always agree with each other, but the groups are active. They're active resisting, and they're active trying to find out who can run for office. How do we support them? How do we change the Democratic Party itself by getting involved at the county level, the local level? And I couldn't be more excited about what tens of thousands of people are doing as members of Our Revolution.
I think that you've already had an impact on health care. I think that the organization Our Revolution, you're the board chair, you have backed Republicans into the corner to the point of not being able to make a decision on how to do it and where to go with it. What do you think?
Yeah, well, again, as you well know, and you've been terrific on this, inspired by Bernie Sanders, the debate he had with Ted Cruz, we have a really simple message. No cuts. In a word, expand Medicare. Don't cut it, expand it. Why can't we have Medicare for all as at least a floor for health care, and then individual insurance can go on top of the floor? But at least we know that every citizen in this country will have decent health care at a global standard, and then we can build up from there. So, yeah, I think we are on offense on health care. We're going to stay on offense on health care. We had 70 rallies a few weeks ago. Bernie was at the one in Warren, Michigan, Macomb County, along with Schumer and Pelosi at that one, but we had 69 other rallies around the country. And we're about to repeat that in a few weeks. The same kind of thing around health care. I think that is one of the core issues where it's not just about resistance, it's about what can we do to cut health care costs, to provide not just access, which means you get to look at the insurance, but the reality of decent health care for 350 million Americans.
Larry Cohen, board chair, Our Revolution, former Communication Workers of America president, always active, always on the front lines, about one of the best activists and one of the best advocates for workers in this country. Larry, nice to visit. Thanks so much, my friend.
Pleasure. Thanks for your work.
You bet. Some news with the president today. He met with the airline CEOs. They wanted to talk about how they're getting crushed by Middle East airlines because they are being subsidized by the states. For instance, United Arab Emirates, Emirates Aircraft, they got the best equipment, best service, but they get government subsidies and they get help. That's not the case for the airline industry in this country. There's a real imbalance. And I find this really interesting when you have CEOs going into the president and complaining about things that are state-sponsored. This is exactly what the steelworkers have been talking about with the steel industry for a long time, that China is dumping on our market and they are state-sponsoring the product, whereas here in America, it's the private sector and the prices are a little bit higher. So that starts even the race to the bottom even faster against wages for workers. Here's the president today on his meeting with the airline CEOs.
You're going to be so happy with Trump. I think you already are. So we want to help you realize these goals by rolling back burdensome regulations, and you people are regulated probably as much as almost anybody, although I can think of a couple of industries that are even worse. Lowering the overall tax burden on American business is big league. That's coming along very well. We're way ahead of schedule, I believe, and we're going to be announcing something, I would say, over the next 2 or 3 weeks that will be phenomenal in terms of tax. And developing our aviation infrastructure. Again, I want to thank you all for being here. So I want this to be a meeting of substance. I want to be able to do things for you. The auto industry was in. They left. They said it was the best meeting they've ever had.
You notice every meeting this president it's the best meeting ever. I mean, he's just never had a bad meeting. I find that interesting. Well, did you hear what he just said? Aviation infrastructure. This is going to be very interesting. The air traffic controllers in this country have been sounding the alarm about their industry for a long time. They have antiquated equipment in control towers across America. They are overworked, they are understaffed, and they have had a horrible relationship with, yes, the last 2 administrations. And they have been screaming for federal help for upgrades. Now, I don't know if you caught the story the other day, but there was an airplane that got within 3 miles of Air Force One. Now, maybe this got Trump's attention. I don't know. But that's not supposed to happen. It was probably a mistake somewhere in the system. The fact is that it's not as safe as it could be. If it weren't for the extraordinary professionals of the air traffic controllers and the training they have, we'd be having a hell of a lot more accidents. Now, it's a little different world today than what it was just a few years ago because of the drones. And so when he talks about aviation infrastructure, we're talking about the money. You got to show the country the money. This is something that a Republican Congress, they've been tight with $1. All they want to do is cut stuff. And now the president in front of these airline CEOs says that you're going to be really happy, you're going to love Trump, you're going to love me, and we're going to do aviation infrastructure. Well, what else could it be? I think that's the focal point of those in the industry right now. The question of maintenance being shipped to overseas was not brought up from what I am told. Other stories today at the press briefing, Sean Spicer defending the president's comments about the immigration executive order and what he said about the judges.
The part of the reason the president got elected is because he speaks his mind. He doesn't hold it back. He's authentic. And he's not going to sit back, I think, when he feels very passionately about something as much as the executive order. He was doing it to make sure Americans were safe. The order, the U.S. code is crystal clear on this. I think I've read it for like 3 days in a row. And it can't be any clearer how much authority it gives the president to do what he can to keep it safe. He's concerned that he's
So that's the answer that the White House gave when asked about, what about the president going after these 3 judges on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals? That's how they view it. This is the president. He'll say whatever he wants. This is new Attorney General Jeff Sessions saying he'll support not only the law, but the executive orders.
Every ounce of strength I have and that the people of the Department of Justice have is going to be focused on preserving and protecting the Constitution and the safety of this country. We will defend the laws of this country as passed by Congress. We'll defend the lawful orders of the President of the United States with vigor and determination.
And of course, we all know that every executive order that Trump signs is lawful because he said so. Ed Schultz, News and Commentary. We're back tomorrow.